Hey, Marshall Ramsey here, editor-at-large and editorial cartoonist for Mississippi Today. I've been a cartoonist in Mississippi for 28 years. I've drawn over 7,000 cartoons. And I tell you what, I want to give you a little sneak peek inside of my process about how I come up with my cartoons. Hey, you want to know who really won the 53rd Super Bowl this year? No, it wasn't Taylor Swift. It was the Jackson State Sonic Boom. Incredible performance with Usher. And I tell you what, I don't know if you were like me, but I was sitting there watching it, and when I saw them, I thought, somebody better not be ripping off the Sonic Boom. And sure enough, it was the actual real thing. Now, I know early voting is a big thing for politicians, and some people don't want you to vote early because they think there's going to be fraud. But to be honest with you, I come at it not as a politician, I come at it as a guy who works. And guess what? Most of the people in Mississippi work and would like to be able to vote and like to be able to get into the voting booth in time to be able to do it. Well, one way to do that is allow early voting, and Mississippi is one of 3 states that doesn't allow it. So if you want to be an early voter, and if you want to, without an excuse, now you can do absentee, but if you want to be an early voter, you got to go to Arkansas to do it, and that might cause a slight problem if you're registered in Mississippi. Speaking of that, had a chance to go to Arkansas recently. Very nice people, wanted to thank them for that, and of course, they've got early voting and we don't. Mississippi politicians, I've discovered, now this isn't scientific, but I've discovered they love shiny objects. And what I mean by shiny objects, it's like they throw something out there over there that's shiny and everybody pays attention to that over there, and they don't pay attention to the crisis that's at hand. Trust me, it's a lot easier to solve a problem that doesn't exist than one that does. People always ask me, Marshall, why does Chris McDaniel always have a possum with him? Well, back when he ran for Senate a million years ago, I did this kind of Dr. Evil-esque scene with him and all of his henchmen around him. And instead of having a little white cat, he had a little possum on his lap. And so the possum kind of became his conscience as things ran along. And so eventually even the possum got a name. His name is Plato, by the way. I don't really advertise that too often, but the possum just kind of became Chris's conscience. And so whenever Chris was doing something outlandish or whatever, the possum could kind of set him straight. And that's what he's doing in this one. He's trying to help him raise some funds. You know, the story about the Goon Squad in Rankin County was probably, in my 30 years or 28 years that I've been here in Mississippi, probably the most disturbing story. You know, we look back to 1964, or we look back to the Civil Rights era, and we see some of the violence that the authorities would do to the civil rights workers, and you think, well, okay, that's past. That doesn't happen anymore. But unfortunately, evil's still around and still with us. And that story was just so incredibly disturbing. And of course, the justice system did work, and that's good. You know, obviously they've all been sentenced, and the story's still ongoing in some degree because I know the sheriff is still in power, and there's still some question whether or not he is going to be able to keep his job from all this. But I have to say, of the over 7,000 cartoons that I have drawn in Mississippi, this one is one of the most powerful because it's probably the story that disturbed me the most in all the time that I've lived in Mississippi. Hey, it's Marshall Ramsey here. Hey, did you like these? Well, if you did, you can see more by subscribing to Mississippi Today.